Well, they're finally cleaning up all the fecal matter in San Francisco. Why? We're going to find out on the program today. The Pope got rid of a conservative bishop over the weekend, and we found out that there were reporters embedded with Hamas on October 7th. All of that on the program today with a man named Matt Couch. Looking forward to introducing him to you. Before we do that, want to remind you, go over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, and become a watchman. Love to have you on that, because we're always giving you the truth, always bringing ways for you to engage and be activated. And of course, social media doesn't like that. They're always trying to shut us down. So the best way for you to get good, true, right information into your life is to go over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become a watchman. Glad to have you be one of our watchmen. With us today, as I said, is Matt Couch. Matt, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would. Let's hear your testimony today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been I don't know what you would call it, political analyst, an investigator for many years now, and went through I would say, I guess, the worst time of my life the last 4 months. But, God has broken me down and built me back up. Back in late June, I ended up going into the doctor and ended up having a blood clot in my right leg, a massive one, and they could not do anything with it. So I had half of my right leg amputated back in June. I had to learn how to walk again, spent 27 days in the hospital. I've had a couple of heart procedures as well because my heart went into AFib from all of the stuff that I was going through. And got a clean bill of health as of last week. I'm getting my prosthetic leg on Wednesday of this week, watching what God's done in my life, from taking me to literally, most people thinking that I'm not going to make it, to getting a clean bill of health. The heart's in great shape. It's out of AFib. I'm going to be able to walk again this week. I've seen miracles before, but I've never been one. And, I always tell people, I'm not a preacher. I'm a believer when I speak around the country. But this has been one of those experiences. And there's I could tell the story and make it probably last 30, 45 minutes with everything that I went through, but I don't want to do that to your audience. But just to see how powerful God is, of how He breaks you down and builds you back up, and where He's led me to going from where I thought I was on my way out to now where I feel like there's even more of a purpose than I had before, with where God's going to lead me, not just to lead people to Christ, but to help the country as far as we move forward into 2024 and these issues that are affecting our nation for everybody. And I can't be more blessed than I am right now.
I love hearing that. I love that you said that you've seen miracles, you've never been one. And it's really an amazing thing when God grabs a hold of somebody's life and does something where you cannot deny who was involved in it, and you just have to give glory to God. So glad that God brought you through that, and glad that you're here with us today. We talk a lot on this program about the issues that are plaguing our nation, and it's all signs of the times, I believe. We look at what God told us to be looking forward to, the signs that would show us that His Son Jesus is going to return. And, we're looking at the decay of American civilization. And, people, I can't believe this, but there's an actual app that tells you where human fecal matter is on the ground in San Francisco. And now all of a sudden that's getting cleaned up. And for what? You would think, hey, they're cleaning it up for the citizens of this nation because they don't want them to have to live in an environment like that. But no, it's because we're bringing over Chinese President Xi Jinping. So what do you have to say about what's going on there in San Francisco?
I think it's the most blasphemous thing I've seen from the radical left in quite some time. That for the last 3 or 4 years, we've heard, you should accept San Francisco. You look at corporations that have moved out of San Francisco, like Walgreens and CVS and others. I think Banana Republic is one of the other ones as well. They've all moved out because of the crime, and basically it's unpunishable. And then you look at the homeless situation, which was out of control. The fecal matter, as you brought up, to where there was literally nothing but syringes and feces all over the streets. And it's just everywhere. And now it looks like a complete revitalization process of the city. And you think, oh, wow, they finally decided to take things into their own hands and fix this. And then you find out, oh, no, it's not. It's not for that. No, they don't care about you. They care about impressing the leader of China, who it seems like the Biden regime is beholden to, which is the Chinese government. And when you look at Hunter Biden and you look at the things that have been uncovered with court documents and regulations and money and where it was going to and from, and And it's just absolutely despicable. The one question that nobody seems to have an answer for is, what did they do with all the homeless people? Where did they go?
Right.
What did they do with them? I mean, I have no answers. I'm not in California, but if I were a citizen of San Francisco, I'd want to know where thousands of homeless people just disappeared to.
Yeah, I would love to know the answer to that. And I also love to know the answer to why are we even holding this event in California to begin with?
Yeah, there's a movie called The Man in the High Tower. I guess it's a TV series. And I watched the first season of it, and it's very, very eerie. And it's basically based on if the Germans and the Japanese had won World War II. And the eerie part about this is the Japanese, their capital, they split the U.S. into three parts. And there was like the middle of the country, the very middle was like a no-go zone. And then the East Coast was ran by the Nazis, and then the West Coast was ran by the Japanese. And San Francisco happened to be the capital city. Very alarming when you think. I mean, I'm not saying that that's going to come to fruition or anything, but I find it very eerie that there's a TV series out on Amazon, and it actually has to do with this kind of situation. Where San Francisco came from, I'm as perplexed by this as you are, Pastor.
Yeah, for the life of me, I can't understand what they're trying to accomplish right now in doing that, but time is going to tell. Let me shift gears and talk, if I could, with you about this this bishop that the Pope got rid of, this conservative bishop in Texas, just over this weekend. There's a lot of things going on in the Catholic Church, and it's upsetting to many Catholics what's going on. I happen to be part of a family that has many Catholics in it, and none of them are happy with what this Pope is doing.
Yeah, it's very very sad. You look at Bishop Strickland, who was 65 years old. Most bishops retire at the age of 75. That's kind of like their retirement year. And so for the Pope to make a move like this, it's considered drastic, but it's also the bishop refused to resign, which I don't blame him. I don't believe he did anything wrong. He's kind of a conservative bishop. He's a social media user, which the Pope obviously is not. And so I think it's it's weird. He was named, and if I'm saying this right, I'm not Catholic, to the diocese by Pope Benedict in 2012. He was promoted there. And then, he tweeted earlier this year that he rejected Pope Francis. And he said that Pope Francis was the program that Pope Francis was doing was undermining the deposit of faith, which I think many Catholics and many Christians would agree with that, especially now that the Catholic Church is welcoming the LGBTQ community. And they're basically, they're trying to basically give the church the nod, I guess, so to speak, Pastor, that they can, now pastor and say that, homosexuality and transgender and all of that is completely acceptable in the Catholic faith. And, it's mind-numbing that he's being reprimanded for basically standing up to a bully. And I'll yield back to you.
Like I said, I was raised up in a Catholic home, a lot of Catholic people in my family, and not one of them is happy with this Pope. Not only that, but I've talked to many priests. Many priests are not happy with this Pope, and I don't know how much you know about the Catholic faith, but a priest takes what's called a vow of obedience. They're supposed to obey, even if they disagree. And so I know many priests right now who they see what the Pope is doing. They know it's not good. They know it's not right, but they've been told to be silent. And so because they've taken this vow of obedience, they're being silent. And it's really sad to watch, because I think there's a lot of good priests out there that want to do well. They want to do what's right, and their hands are tied at this point. And something's got to give for the Catholic Church, not only in America, but across the world, because there are many people leaving the Catholic faith. And who knows where they're going to land.
No, I agree with that. And the other thing too, he stood by his statement, so he's not backing down. He put out a statement, and the statement says, "I stand by all things that were listed as complaints against me, and I would do it again the same way." And he said, "I feel very much at peace in the Lord and the truth that he died for." So he's not backing down. He went on LifeSite News, which is a very strong conservative, anti-abortion site. I know some of the guys over at LifeSite News, and basically, I guess the Pope didn't like what he said about that the Catholic Church was supporting, the Pope was supporting abortions, and the Pope was supporting LGBTQ, the community. And he also wrote out there, I don't know how much you've seen this, what he put on Twitter, what really, I guess, was kind of what pushed the Pope in this direction. He put, the blasphemy is that his holy priest is canceled while an evil president promotes the denial of truth and the murder of the unborn at every turn. And he said Vatican officials promote immorality and denial of the deposit of faith, and priests promote gender confusion, devastating lives. It's evil. And so he held nothing back, Pastor. He held nothing back. He went straight at them. And I love the fact that he won't back down. That to me is a man of conviction. And I love the fact that he's not willing to change what he said, apologize, because he knows he's in the right here. I don't know what happens when you're a Catholic priest or bishop or whatever, and you get, I guess, I don't know what do you do at this point? Does he become a pastor at a church, or how does that work for him if he's kicked out of the? Does that mean he can't go to a Catholic church? And that would be more your forte than mine.
Well, no, it doesn't say that he's been excommunicated. He's just been removed from his position as bishop. So I don't know what they'll do, force him into retirement or what. Yeah, one of the things I loved that he said at the end of the statement was, just follow Jesus. And I think the church would do well to just follow Jesus. You look at the teachings of Jesus, they're very clear about these issues. And, the whole nation, we see a lot of people who claim to be Christian, but they're not following Jesus. People need to get back to following the true teachings of the Lord.
They absolutely do. And I think that's the one thing that, our nation is lost on so many levels. You look at the things that I never thought that I would witness. I'm a dad. I've got 2 daughters. I never thought I would see this country where it's at. The public schools, and that's a whole other subject, but they're absolutely destroying this country. And then you see someone like this, this bishop that stands up for what's right, and then he gets leveled. They're fighting us on all fronts in this country. We need Jesus and we need revival now more than we need anything in this nation as we head into the most pivotal election of our lives. It sounds cliched. We're 12 months away now from the most important election of our lives. We have a chance as conservatives to get a man back in the White House that will do. We saw what happened with the Supreme Court. Obviously, I'm gonna just kind of leave it at that because I don't know where your stance is there, but. We have a chance to expand on the House. We have a chance now with Joe Manchin not running for re-election in the U.S. Senate to actually, we should have a 50-50 tie in the Senate. And then with the vice president, if we can take the White House back, we would control the Senate with the tiebreaker. We are in a very, very good position if conservatives and Christians unite and get out in record numbers to take their country back and hopefully squelch some of this evil that's been perpetrated on us the last 3 years.
Yeah, the last 3 years have been terrible for this nation. One of the things we know as we study history, though, is that when you see the worst of times, it's the time where there's the greatest revival. And the reason is things get so bad, people realize that they've gone so far away from God and they have no choice but to go back. And that's where our nation's at right now, a nation founded on Judeo-Christian values, and we flourished because of that. Well, we've veered so far away from God, we've kicked him out of everything, we've denied him as the creator, denied his design in sexuality, denied his design in marriage. Now we're denying his design in gender. Every level we're rejecting God, and we're reaping the consequences of that as a nation. But people are seeing it, they're waking up, and they're getting back to knowing that we've got to do what God has told us to do. One of the things that he did tell us to do, this is in Genesis chapter 12 verse 3, is to support and to bless Israel. And we look at what's taking place over in Israel right now, and there was, of course, the attack on October 7th, and there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to that attack on October 7th. But one of the things we know now is that there were reporters embedded with Hamas on that day. So some people knew that this was going to take place. What can you tell us about October 7th and the reporters there with Hamas?
It's absolutely unforgivable in my opinion. What the New York Times knew and when they knew it about this mass murder of Jews isn't. It's not just a historical question. but it's a concern right now today. It's not just, if you know what happened in the 1930s to the Jewish people and the 1940s, and then you know where what happened with World War II and Hitler and this a pure axis of evil and Auschwitz, and you know those things. It's interesting to see where this is at. Hamas terrorists, just for what we know, they weren't the only ones documenting their horrific war crimes. And from what we know now, there were photojournalists working for the Associated Press and Reuters. Those same journalists also worked for CNN and the New York Times as well. And then they've even it's crazy, and I'll probably butcher this gentleman's name. I think it's Hassan Elisa Yusuf Mohad, if I'm saying it right. And then Ali Mahmoud and Hatam Ali, which, I mean, it's no surprise that with names like that they're in with Hamas. But I mean, it's unbelievable. Eslahi says is a freelancer who also contributes to CNN, ventured into Israel, took photos of a burning Israeli tank, and even captured infiltrators entering the if I'm saying this right, Pastor, Kibbutz Kfar Aza over there in Israel. And so they were documenting this. They were taking pictures. They were watching Hamas murder innocent Israeli children and women and dads and unarmed. They have strict gun laws. In Israel, they have extremely strict gun laws. Only military can have the guns, and then if you have served in the military, there's a special permit you can get to have a gun. But it's very, very strict, and that's why the Second Amendment is so important here in the United States. But the fact that the New York Times, CNN, Reuters, and the AP all had people in with Hamas during this attack, documenting it, taking pictures. I mean, what they did was no one's talking about Hamas and war crimes, which they should be. And I just don't understand how this is not a bigger story. I mean, I guess I should understand what the mainstream media is corrupt and evil as they are, and they only back, it seems, the Democrats and the left. But it's unfathomable to me that they had these people embedded in with Hamas, documenting and taking pictures of these atrocities. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, are they as guilty as Hamas, Pastor? I mean, in my mind, they are. I don't know how you could do something like that. It's almost like, it's like the George Soros story all over again.
Right. And what it is just shows the spiritual battle that we're in. And it clearly, it opens people's eyes to it. They have to know these things are happening. They have to know that, because like I always tell them, they're not going to hear this on the mainstream media. They're not going to get this kind of information because they're hiding it and they're burying these kind of things. But if people knew that was what took place, it opens up so many other questions. I mean, I for the life of me cannot understand how they're getting away with this, but it's important for people like you, for people like me, to put this information out, because you look at what's happening in our nation and so many people are supporting Hamas, and they're acting like Hamas is the victim here, and they have no clue the reality of this situation.
It's terrible, and it's awful. I saw it's somewhere in Arkansas. I saw, Jack Posobiec post about it, where they were doing some sort of a sit-in at a school, to protest, the Jewish students. It's just disgusting. It's even happening in my home state of Arkansas, in the middle of the country. The professors, when you look at the statistics out there, the real problem in America, and I'm not trying to turn the subjects to school choice, but as a pastor, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. The real problem is that we've got 95% of all high school educators, or basically K through 12 educators. This is based on Columbia, Harvard, Yale surveys. This is not based on right think tank. This is the left's their own thing. 95% of those people are leftists, and they admit to that in polling. 98% of college professors that are polled by these big think tanks on the left say that they vote liberal, they lean left. And that's who's teaching your children. And that's why this is breaking out all across the country and around the world, to where they are anti-Semitic. They don't understand that the Israeli people are God's chosen people and what the Bible says about that and how we're supposed to protect Israel. And it's just absolutely disgusting. And in fact, this situation, on the reporters is so bad that Elisa has deleted his tweets. And he literally was standing in front of an Israeli tank that had been blown up. He wasn't wearing any press identification or protective gear. And his Arabic caption read, "Live from inside the Gaza Strip settlements." And so, he was literally proudly standing there next to dead Israeli soldiers and taking pictures. And then we're seeing this, like you said, in America, all across the country. These young, it's so sad. They don't even know what they're asking for because they'll be the first ones drafted. It's like no one has educated them, and none of these public school educators have educated all these knuckleheads protesting. You're going to be the first ones drafted if this thing breaks out into a massive war, and I'll yield back again.
Not only will they be the first ones drafted, but you look at these LGBT groups that are so pro-Palestine, and what they don't understand is the LGBT group is the first ones they're going to throw off a building. They're the first ones they're going to drown in a river. They don't care about the LGBT community. They don't care about the rights of people that are in that lifestyle. They don't understand what they're doing. But that's all the time we have. I'm so sorry. I want to thank you, Matt, for joining us today. And I want to ask you, how can people connect with you and follow what you're doing?
Absolutely. I am at Real Matt Couch on all social media except for Instagram. I'm so far on the hill over there because Mark Zuckerberg loves me so much. But yeah, so you can find me at Real Matt Couch on all social media platforms, Pastor.
All right, Matt Couch, thank you so much for joining us today, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Once again, if you like this video, share this out with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Get the truth into their life. Also, if you would, go over to ourwatch.com, subscribe, become one of our watchmen. Love to have you there. We'll see you next time right here on Our Watch with Tim Thompson.